Live from the Alpine Mountains of Switzerland, it's the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos. Bloomberg Television brings you unmatched coverage and conversations with world leaders, business executives, and billionaires as they navigate the AI age, energy transition, and geopolitical tensions. Tune in for daily coverage all next week, only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Welcome back to Horizons Middle East and Africa. I'm Joumanna Bercetche in Dubai. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire deal, which is set to start on Sunday, just one day ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration. As the new administration prepares to enter the White House, Middle East policy could shift to Israel-Gulf relations and expanding the Abraham Accords, focusing on Saudi Arabia as the next major partner. So lots of things to discuss. Let's bring in Avi Hasson, CEO of Startup Nation Central, who is in Tel Aviv. Good to have you with us on this quite monumental day. Let me just start off by asking you, yesterday we had a guest on the show who was the CEO of one of the largest VC funds in Israel. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked her, and that is, what do you think the implementation of this ceasefire deal could mean for businesses, for sentiment, and for the macroeconomic outlook?
Good morning, Joumanna. It's good to be back here. Let me just say it's a morning of hope, and it's a very optimistic morning here in the Middle East. Obviously, after 15 months of conflict, hopefully we're in a trajectory to bring back the hostages and make this ceasefire a permanent one. With regard to your question, actually we just came out with our 2024 report, and it was quite remarkable to see that even though Israel and the region had to cope with this ongoing war, the amount of investment in Israeli high-tech companies, the level of mergers and acquisition deals was quite remarkable, showing the resilience and really the strength of the sector. So that was when the war was taking place and happening, and carrying its toll, of course, from reserve duty service to the international travel disruption. I think looking in the future, if indeed we are towards a de-escalation, we can expect not just going back to those levels, but actually increasing the mutual collaboration and economic activity. So I'm quite optimistic.
Can I just ask you if whether the Abraham Accords actually did lead to a pickup in trade with the countries who signed it, between Israel and the UAE, Israel and Morocco, Israel and Bahrain? Did you actually see a pickup in trade?
Yeah, so before October 7th, obviously, we've already had almost 3 years of the Accords. And when we look into different indicators, bilateral trade is an example. The bilateral trade between the UAE and Israel, taking one example, reached over $3 billion on an annual volume, which is quite significant, by the way. That makes the UAE one of the top trade partners for Israel. And that was a reflection of ongoing activity that really went across sector. At Startup Nation Central, we mostly deal with the competitiveness and health of the innovation ecosystem and have been involved in multiple initiatives within the region. We've seen a lot of collaboration between businesses. We've seen investment coming over from the Gulf to Israeli tech companies, and we've seen Israeli companies co-locating in Dubai, in Morocco, and to some extent also in Bahrain. So I think the first 3 years taught us that the potential is huge, and also taught us that these agreements can go beyond just government to government, G to G agreement, and really includes wider parts of the economy and the society, really reflecting what the region can do together, not just to solve its own problems, but also to create global leadership and address global customers.
Well, the big prize would be a normalization of relations with Saudi Arabia. Of course, many political hurdles to get to until we get to that point. But how much potential do you think that would unlock for the region and for businesses that operate within Israel if that were to come to fruition?
So as you say, exactly, that holds the greatest potential. And it's true both on the bilateral level. We're talking about different economies, right? The Saudi economy is 40% based on natural resources, mostly oil. The Israeli economy is actually 20% of its GDP is based on tech. That's twice the share of the US, 3 times more than the EU. But as these two economies can combine forces, there's a lot of potential, from helping to implement and realize MBS Vision 2030 programs with some of the mega projects where Israel with its innovation capabilities can be of service, but also of working together, combining the capabilities of the two countries and really solving some of the region challenges and problems, from the reconstruction that was mentioned to looking into issues of food and water security, health-related issues, and also cybersecurity and defense. So that's a great potential. But if you go a little bit broader, I think what we have today, especially given what we're seeing in the Middle East, is the possibility to create a new Middle East, which is really combined of countries that have mind share which is similar, that looks into the future and can want to create an economic corridor, starting all the way from India to Europe. The possibilities there are great, and if we dare to imagine, we can see the power of innovation and economy really creating a region that becomes an economic powerhouse, not just for its own sake, but also in terms of the global leadership.
Yeah, and that is the hope, of course, for the region to live in peace and stability. Avi Hasson, thank you so much for coming on our show today as Startup Nation Central CEO. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, Mozambique's new president sworn in amid ongoing protests, economic woes, and disputed election results. All the latest on the inauguration next. This is Bloomberg.